it's time for a very short review with the goal that you put this on your radar, because Pseudoregalia is a very short Metroidvania, but with a 3D platformer style. And when we say 3D platformer, think more Mario 64 than anything. The first thing you might notice when looking at Pseudoregalia are its PS1 style chunky retro graphics. Of course, it's got some of those modern touches that we expect, and I personally think the game looks amazing. But its retro sensibilities don't end just at the graphics, they continue onwards into the gameplay. The game doesn't hold your hand basically at all, and simply lets you loose on this open world. It has a little bit of some Zelda dungeon type vibes to it, but the core of the gameplay is 100% a platformer, and the combat is actually, I would say, one of the weaker parts of it. The moment I knew that this game was going to be special was when I noticed some of the smaller details in the movement mechanics. There is just a precision and a thoughtfulness to everything in the game when it comes to movement that makes playing it feel special. You can do the Mario 64 backwards jump where you flick the analog stick in the opposite direction you're moving to get a slightly higher jump, and that even extends to once you get the long jump ability, you can do it after a long jump. You're going to be wall running, wall kicking, and just using a very complex and versatile moveset that keeps expanding through those Metroidvania features as you unlock more and more movement abilities. There are also other hidden collectibles that will aid you in other ways, normally combat, and some combat power-ups as well for the boss fights that you're going to encounter. So despite the game being quite short, which I think is perfect by the way, and it's priced accordingly at around $7, if you are the type of person that just enjoys good movement in a platformer and find speedrunning it to be a challenge, I think that there's a lot in this game that is going to absolutely enamor you. However, there are some caveats to this, and there are some parts of this game that I am not as happy with, primarily the feeling of being lost. See, with all of this freedom comes the ability to kind of sequence break and explore this castle environment in whatever order you really see fit. The problem with this is that I frequently felt that I wasn't going in the right direction or I wasn't equipped to handle something. I was simply sequence breaking and doing weird things to get ahead of where I should be, and that maybe I was going to encounter a problem later on. This feeling can get even worse because the game is more or less designed for you to be able to do it in either direction. See, a lot of the zones that you go into from the central hub castle can be accessed from multiple different entryways, and the game allows you to navigate them either front to back or back to front depending on how you want to think of it. It just has that freedom. And that can lead to a weird feeling where you think maybe this isn't the way I'm supposed to be going, even if it is a completely viable way. The other very big problem the game has is feeling like you're lost. It does not have a map function. So sometimes you will take a complete trek through a new zone, get lost in it, find what the solution is to the puzzles that you have in front of you, get your new abilities, get the major objective, which is to get one of the major keys, and then after you do that, you will then think, oh, well, now I'm out here. The game will spit you out at a new location or back at the central hub, but in an area that you're not familiar with, or you just don't remember it all too well and are not sure how to progress or how to get back to a different area that you want to go to now. You'll frequently be standing there and saying, well, I know what zone I'm in, and I'm sure that this is going to connect to that one room that I want to go back to now. I just don't know how. So I started having to make an active effort of kind of remembering every possible room and what it connects to in order to mitigate that feeling as much as possible, but it really never goes away. You never know where a zone is going to spit you out at, and it could be in just the top of a room that you don't remember or that you haven't been to. And if that's the case, it really limits your ability to move efficiently until you've memorized all of it. I can completely respect the decision of not having a map and forcing the players to remember every part of the game, but this kind of combines with those beautiful PS1 chunky graphics that some of the rooms end up blending together and having the doors be dark so that they kind of fuzz everything in your mind and you can't really remember, oh, this door connects to this, because you can't really see through anything. It's all part of the retro sensibilities, along with that not hand-holding, lack of tutorials, and all the secrets that you can find. It's just this one was a little bit too frustrating for me, and I kind of just prefer if there were a map. However, what you're getting in Pseudoregalia is a gem of an indie game with some of the finest movement mechanics I've seen in a 3D platformer that hit all of the right buttons for me. So overall, I'm going to have to recommend it unless either the time that you're going to spend with it doesn't sound like it's worth it to you, or if the small frustrations that I have are exactly the type of things that you want to avoid. On the other end of the spectrum, it is worth mentioning that, like I said, the combat is the weakest part of the game, and definitely a lot more attention was put into the movement. The combat is pretty much serviceable. You have a mechanic with a bar, not unlike Hollow Knight, where after you deal damage to things, the bar will fill up and you can use that bar to heal, or if you retain the bar, it's going to work as a power-up for you. So climbing up into the later levels, you get more range at level 2, I believe, and you get extra damage when the bar is at level 3, and you have to make the decision of using it to heal, or to use a power attack, or to just let it be and have that buff active. Combat is definitely a part of the game, and the end game is reaching a boss that you will have to fight, but again, it's not bad, it's serviceable. So if you're interested in Pseudoregalia, that was my review for it. And remember that if you want more guides, reviews, and just general opinions from yours truly, hit the subscribe button. It's all I really ask of you in return. I've been Muck Thief, and I'll see you on the internet.